ship's reactor hummed like a heartbeat in deep sleep. Inside the dim-lit quarters of the Starlight Nomad, a human man lay sprawled across his bunk, shirtless, lost in dreams that made him mutter, twitch, and occasionally smile. And right at the door, leaning against the frame with a smirk she probably shouldn't have, stood a blue-skinned alien woman named Harry, and yes, she found the irony in her own name absolutely delightful. Her hair floated lightly in the recycled air, dark and soft against the neon glow. Her eyes shimmered, glowing faintly as they studied the human sleeping before her. He looked peaceful, vulnerable, and far too distracting for someone who was supposed to be on the night shift monitoring the ship's plasma coils. She tilted her head, arms crossed, tail of energy light flicking behind her. 2 rotations, she whispered to herself, and he still sleeps like a tranquilized moonyak. He didn't stir, just turned on his side and mumbled something. Harry squinted. Did he just say her name? No, couldn't be. She was hearing things. Probably. Still, she crept a few steps closer, bare feet silent against the metallic floor. She told herself she was just checking his health. Maybe observing human rest cycles, maybe even cross-species sleep behavior. But deep down, she knew what she was really doing, staring at him because she liked staring at him. She crouched beside the bed, resting her chin on her palm, eyes scanning the soft lines of his chest, the slow rhythm of his breathing. His heart made a steady rhythmic thump. She could hear it, thanks to her species-enhanced auditory senses. Thump, 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 thump. I wonder if he dreams of explosions or sandwiches, she whispered. Then after a pause, or maybe me, her cheeks glowed faint purple. She quickly stood upright, brushing imaginary dust from her jumpsuit. I am a professional, she muttered. This is data collection, not admiration. Behind her, a voice broke the silence. Talking to yourself again, Harry? Her whole body froze. Then, without turning, she said, You were awake? He chuckled lazily. Hard not to be when someone's hovering over me like a hungry predator. I was observing, human, she said quickly. Purely scientific. Right, he said, sitting up and rubbing his eyes. Scientific observation of how often I snore? She blinked. You do snore then. I suspected as much. He groaned, running a hand through his hair. Remind me never to sleep around you again. That's going to be difficult, she said, smiling faintly, since your bed is the comfiest place on this ship. He looked at her, eyebrow raised. You've tested all of them. I'm thorough, she said innocently. He laughed softly. You're something else, Harry. I'll take that as a compliment, she said, still watching him a little too intently. She was supposed to be immune to human charm. Supposed to, but the way his voice cracked slightly when he stretched, or the way his smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, those were things she couldn't file under scientific data. He stood, reaching for his water bottle, and she tilted her head. You humans need that much water just to survive? Yeah, why? My species hydrates once every lunar cycle, she said, smiling proudly. We store moisture efficiently. Good for you, he said, rolling his eyes. Meanwhile, I'd die if I skipped lunch. Exactly. Fragile, adorable, short-lived species. Adorable, he repeated, half smiling. She pretended to study the ceiling. Slip of tongue, the ship's AI, Tessa, suddenly interrupted, voice bright and nosy. Warning. Elevated hormonal activity detected in cabin 4. Both froze. Harry blinked. Your ship's intelligence is very blunt. He rubbed his face. She's not intelligent. She's just a gossip. She sounds like your type, Harry teased. He gave her a look. You're starting to sound like her. Then you're in trouble, she said, stepping closer, her voice dipping to a playful murmur. He took half a step back, hitting the wall. You know, personal space is kind of a human concept. She leaned in, her expression teasing. And your heart rate says you love when I ignore it. He froze, caught between laughter and blushing. You can hear that? Every thump, she said softly, grin widening. There was a long silence, heavy with humor, and something else entirely. Then Tessa chimed again, privacy mode engaged. Shall I dim the lights for intimacy protocol? No, they both shouted. The AI beeped innocently. Acknowledged. Resuming normal lighting for 2 emotionally repressed organisms. Harry burst out laughing, trying and failing to stay composed. Your AI is fun. Fun? She's humiliating me in my own quarters. You humans are dramatic, she teased. You should try my planet's customs. We flirt telepathically. No witnesses, he smirked. You mean you just think something embarrassing instead of saying it out loud? Exactly. Well, that's worse. You'd hear what I'm thinking right now. Her eyebrow arched. Would I? He grinned. Nope. Privacy mode. Up here. He tapped his temple. She shook her head. Coward. You have no idea, he said, grinning wider. Later that cycle, he returned from bridge duty to find her sitting cross-legged on his bed, playing with his wrist communicator. You hacked my comm? He asked. I improved it, she said proudly. Now it vibrates when I think about you. He stared. Wait, what? She giggled. Kidding, it only alerts you when I send a message. But your reaction was educational. He flopped onto the bed beside her, exhaling. You're going to be the death of me, Harry. Only twice a night, apparently, she said with a teasing grin. Then you become tired. He turned to her slowly. Wait, what does that mean? Her eyes sparkled with mischief. You'll find out, human. And before he could reply, she winked, one of those slow, dangerous, universe-ending winks, and slipped out the door with a sway of glowing hair. He sat there, heart thundering, trying to decide whether to be terrified, intrigued, or both. The hum of hyperspace always did strange things to the ship's atmosphere. The walls shimmered faintly. The air hummed like distant thunder, and for some reason, everything felt warmer, especially inside the shared sleeping pods. At least, that's what Harry claimed later. For now, she was lying upside down on the human's bunk, legs crossed at the knee, reading his flight manual the wrong way up. Ethan paused at the doorway, towel over his shoulder, hair damp from the hygiene module. You know that book is inverted, right? Without looking up, she replied, I process information multidimensionally. Orientation is irrelevant. Uh-huh, he said, leaning against the frame. So you didn't just pick it up because it smells like me? She turned a slow, deliberate page. You assume much, human? I'm a professional observer. He grinned. Yeah, observing what exactly? She flipped the book closed, sat up and said, How easily humans blush. And just like that, target acquired. His ears turned pink. Harry smirked and slid off the bunk, graceful as always. You're predictable. And you're impossible. He shot back, trying not to laugh. Thank you, she said sweetly. When the intercom buzzed, the captain's voice crackled through. All crew, hyperspace turbulence incoming. Secure yourselves. Pair bunking authorized. Ethan blinked. Pair bunking. Harry tilted her head. You heard him. It's protocol. Yeah, but it just means... Before he could finish, the entire ship lurched violently. The lights flickered. A low alarm droned through the hallway. Harry grabbed the nearest thing for balance. Him. He stumbled backward, caught her, and somehow they both ended up tangled in his bedding as gravity flickered off and on. They stared at each other for a heartbeat too long. Her hair was spread across his chest, glowing faintly in the emergency light. So, he said carefully, this is what you call protocol? She blinked innocently. You'd prefer turbulence to throw us around separately? I mean, there are worse ways to go, he admitted. She smirked. Human humor, flirty under pressure, alien. Composure, pretending you didn't just use me as an anti-gravity. Cushion, I saved you from colliding with the ceiling, she countered. He looked up at the low ceiling, then back at her. You're like 5'7", 5'8", she corrected, and entirely effective. The turbulence eased, but neither of them moved. The room felt different now, quiet but charged, like static before a storm. She was still lying half on him, head tilted, studying his face with that curious expression again. You have tiny pores, she murmured. Thanks. It's fascinating. On my planet, we secrete nutrients through dermal scales, but your skin just traps everything. Yeah, sounds attractive when you put it that way, he muttered. Her eyes sparkled. I am attracted, he blinked. Wait, what? I mean, academically, she corrected quickly, though her tone betrayed her grin. Human biology is compelling. He raised an eyebrow. So you're saying you're not into me? I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? That you ask too many questions for someone whose heart is beating that fast. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. You can hear that again, can't you? She smiled. It's hard to miss. Sounds like a percussion instrument from my homeworld. Great. I'm a drum set now. Exactly. A very rhythmic one. The lights flickered back to normal. Tessa, the ship's AI, interrupted again. Cabin 4 oxygen balance fluctuating. Possible elevated respiration from occupants. Ethan sighed. Tessa, privacy mode. The AI responded sweetly, confirming, privacy mode, again. Should I dim the lights this time? Harry snorted. She knows what she's doing. Tessa's got a sense of humor. Wonderful. Perhaps she learned from watching you. Harry teased. Your sarcasm is endearing. That's one word for it, he muttered. A moment later, another jolt hit the ship. Smaller this time, but enough to knock the lights out. Completely darkness. Only the faint glow from Harry's bioluminescent. Freckles illuminated the space between them. Power rerouting, said Tessa's voice faintly before fading. Out. Backup systems will kick in, Ethan murmured. Reaching for a light switch that didn't respond, Harry's soft laugh floated through the dark. You humans panic quickly in darkness. Not panicking, he said. Just trying to see. I can see, she whispered. Her voice came from very close now. He swallowed. Of course you can. Her hand brushed his shoulder. Just a touch. But in the pitch black, it felt like a lightning strike. Your temperature rises when you're nervous, she murmured. It's cute, he exhaled. Cute isn't the word I'd use. Then what word? She teased. He hesitated. Dangerous? I like that one better. The lights finally flickered back on and both of them froze, mid-proximity. She was kneeling on the bunk beside him, still close enough that their breath mingled. He tried for humor. So, this part of the study going in your notes? She smiled. Already written. Title, Human Reacts Interestingly to Sustained Eye Contact. He laughed softly. You're unbelievable. I've been called worse, she said, settling back and crossing her legs, but never by someone blushing that much. Blame the air pressure. I'll blame your heart rate. A few hours later, hyperspace steadied. The crew went back to normal operations. But neither of them left the room. He was pretending to check the navigation console. She was pretending to check his vitals. Neither was doing a great job. Harry, he said finally, why do you keep hanging out here? Don't you have an entire lab to be in? She considered that for a moment. Because your quarters are warmer. And you make funny noises when you think too hard. He turned slowly. Funny noises, she nodded seriously. Like tiny frustration grunts, adorable. He sighed. I'm starting to think you only know one compliment. That's not true, she said sweetly. I know many. For instance, your symmetry is statistically pleasing. He stared. That's the least romantic thing anyone's ever said to me. Noted. Humans prefer metaphors. I'll try again later. Hours passed in that teasing tension neither could quite name. When he finally laid back on his bunk again, exhausted, she lingered at the door. You humans sleep often, she said softly. Yeah, it's how we reset. She tilted her head. On my planet, we enter shared dreams for rest. Shared? Yes, connected minds. Thoughts mingling. It's intimate, he hesitated. Sounds crowded. She smiled faintly. Only if you think too loudly, he chuckled. Well, good night, Harry. Good night, human. She paused, then added quietly, don't dream of anyone else. I might see it. He sat up, blinking. Wait, what? But she was already gone, slipping through the doorway with that same mischievous grin. Half an hour later, he was still awake, staring at the ceiling, hearing her voice echo in his head. And somewhere down the hall, Harry lay in her quarters, eyes closed, smiling faintly, because she could hear him. Ethan dreamed he was floating, which wasn't unusual in space, but this time it felt too real. There was no ship, no gravity, just him and an endless field of stars. And then, out of the light, a voice, soft, melodic, teasingly familiar. Human. Are you always this loud when you sleep? His eyes snapped open. There she was, Harry, floating upside down, blue skin glowing faintly, her hair trailing like liquid starlight. Wait, what? Where? How? Relax, she said, poking his nose mid-air. You're dreaming, he blinked. Then why are you here? Because, she said smugly, I decided to test a theory. Of course you did. Cross-species dream synchronization, she said, circling him slowly. Your subconscious projects energy signatures while asleep. I tuned into them, he squinted. So you hacked my dream. Such a primitive word, she said, smiling. Think of it as visiting. He crossed his arms, without asking. You left your mind wide open, she teased. Hardly my fault you dream like an unlocked door. They drifted closer, gravityless, surrounded by pulsing nebula light. It should have been surreal, but somehow it felt too vivid. Her eyes shimmered brighter than the stars. So this is what humans imagine when they sleep, she said softly. Colors, sensations, emotions. And sarcasm, he added, and longing. Her voice dropped an octave. A lot of longing. He froze. You can feel that. Dreams speak loudly, human. He looked away. Well, maybe don't listen too close. Too late. She brushed past him, fingertips trailing sparks of dream light across his skin. Your mind is warm, Harry. Yes? This is weird. Yes. Stop enjoying it. No. He tried to push away, only to realize physics worked differently here. The harder he tried, the closer he seemed to drift back toward her. She tilted her head, smirking. See? Even your subconscious wants me nearby. I think my subconscious just hates boundaries. I like that about it. Of course you do. Then, something unexpected happened. The stars around them pulsed once, twice, and suddenly the space shifted. The dream solidified into something more earthly. He blinked. They were standing barefoot on a sandy beach under two moons. The waves shimmered violet. Harry turned slowly, awe in her expression. Your mind does landscapes? He shrugged. Guess so. She knelt and touched the sand. This isn't memory. It's fantasy. He hesitated. What kind of fantasy? She looked up at him with a smirk. One where you invite me to walk with you. Subconscious, you traitor. He muttered under his breath. They walked side by side along the glowing water. Every time her hand brushed his, static electricity tingled through the air. So, he said cautiously, you can just stroll into dreams now? Only with those who trust me, she said. Or those who dream too loudly. I'll take that as a compliment. You're an easy read human. Meaning? You imagine touch before you admit it. He nearly tripped over his own feet. Excuse me? She smiled knowingly. It's written in your aura. Curiosity first, denial second, attraction third. You forgot panic fourth, she laughed softly. I like panic. It means you care. The sound of waves filled the silence. It should have been peaceful, but something about her tone, gentle, amused, faintly seductive, made his chest tighten. She stopped walking suddenly, eyes glowing faintly violet. Dreams reveal truth, she murmured. So tell me, truthfully, human, am I beautiful to you? His throat went dry. You're, careful, she teased. It's a dream. I'll know if you lie, he exhaled. You're stunning, and you know it. Good answer, she said softly. Now I understand human vanity better. Great. My subconscious is now a research site, she smirked. And you're the specimen. Wonderful. I always wanted to be emotionally dissected in my sleep. You say that like you aren't enjoying it. He gave a helpless laugh. You're impossible. Say that again, she said, stepping closer, but slower. He swallowed. Harry, yes? You're really testing the limits of scientific research. I'm gathering data, she said innocently. About how humans respond to proximity. He arched an eyebrow. How's your data collection so far? She smiled. Overwhelmingly positive, the dreamlight flickered again. Suddenly the beach dissolved, replaced by the dim glow of his cabin. They were back in his bunk. Still too close, he blinked. Wait, did you just bring me back here? Dream space follows intent, she said with a sly grin. And you keep thinking about this place. I was thinking about food, he protested. You don't believe me? I can hear your imagination, human. He sighed, covering his face. This is a violation of everything, she laughed quietly. If it helps, I'm violating my own ethics too. Great. Mutual rule breaking. How romantic, the light around them dimmed. For a heartbeat, silence stretched, only the soft rhythm of two heartbeats sinking in that surreal half-dream space. She leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. You dream of warmth, connection, not conquest. He looked at her, genuinely curious now. And what do you dream of? Her eyes flickered. I dream of laughter. Laughter? On my planet, mating bonds are logical, efficient, no playfulness, no teasing, just compatibility. But you, she paused, smiling faintly, you make affection sound ridiculous. That's because it is. And yet, she said softly, I find myself addicted to it. His breath caught. That's not very scientific. Then maybe I'm tired of science. The dream wavered again, like ripples in water. She looked at him, realization dawning. You're waking up, he frowned. Wait, what happens when I... Before he could finish, everything dissolved in a rush of light. He woke up to find her actually there. Sitting at the edge of his bunk, arms folded, pretending to look innocent. You were in my head, he said, rubbing his temples. Technically, you were in mine, she replied. I just arrived first. Harry, Ethan, tell me you didn't. I did, he groaned. You can't just invade people's dreams. Why not? Because it's private. It's personal. She leaned forward, smirking. So you admit you dreamed about me? No, that's not. Ugh. See? Confirmed. He pointed at her. You're impossible, she smiled sweetly. Say it again. Impossible. Say it slower, Harry. Yes? Get out of my dreams. She stood, grinning like a cat that had stolen an entire solar system's worth of cream. You humans get so flustered over imagination. Relax, I only saw the surface. The surface? What does that mean? Her grin widened. It means the deeper part is still locked. For now, as she turned to leave, Tessa chimed in again. Captain reports elevated neural synchronization between Lieutenant Harry and Pilot Ethan. Should I log this as a scientific event or a romantic complication? Ethan groaned. Tessa, please, delete all logs. Deletion denied, said the AI cheerfully. Crew gossip protocols activated. Harry laughed so hard she nearly doubled over. Your AI is my favorite part of this ship. She's fired, he muttered. Too late, said Harry. She ships us now. He blinked. She what? It's a human term. When others believe two people belong together, he rubbed his face. Perfect. Even the ship's gossiping about us. She leaned against the door frame, that signature mischievous smile softening just a little. It's not gossip if it's true. He looked up at her, and for once couldn't think of a comeback. Ethan had survived meteor showers, reactor leaks, and a hungry asteroid worm once. But none of those compared to the danger of a bored alien girl sitting cross-legged on his navigation console. Harry was doing that thing again, pretending. She was researching human posture, while very obviously not doing research. You're blocking the radar, he said, keeping his voice level. I'm blocking your distractions, she corrected, balancing a screwdriver on one fingertip. Humans think better when mildly irritated. That explains a lot about you. She smiled, the kind of slow smile that could melt titanium. Compliment accepted. For the past 3 days, they had been trapped in deep space waiting for a warp corridor to stabilize. Too much time, too little to do, which meant Harry had started experimenting. Today's experiment. Human emotional suppression in prolonged close proximity. Translation. Teasing him until he broke. So, she said casually, in your culture, when two crewmates share neural synchronization, do they avoid each other afterward? He didn't look up. Depends. On what? Whether one of them won't stop bringing it up. She leaned closer. Then this case qualifies, he sighed. You're incorrigible. I'm curious. You're nosy. She tilted her head, voice dropping low. Say it slower, he groaned. Not this again, she laughed, a warm, bubbling sound that filled the cockpit. It wasn't mocking this time, though. It was something softer. You know, she said, I used to think humans were fragile. But your mind? She trailed off, searching for the word. Loud, messy, alive. He risked a glance at her. You say that like it's a compliment. It is. Coming from you? I can't tell. Then learn to listen properly, she said, hopping off the console. Her boots hit the floor with a soft metallic thud. She stood close enough that the static between them hummed again. That strange post-dream resonance that hadn't gone away since the night she invaded his sleep. Tessa's voice interrupted them like a nosy ghost. Warning, tension levels exceeding professional thresholds. Harry smirked. See? Even your AI feels it. Tessa, mute yourself, Ethan said. Muting emotional awareness protocols, replied the AI cheerfully. For now, Harry laughed. Your ship is sassier than you are. Yeah, and more disciplined. Later, when the lights dimmed for night cycle, Ethan sat in the crew lounge pretending to fix a drone that didn't need fixing. Harry entered quietly, carrying 2 glowing cups of something purple. "Peace offering," she said, handing him one. He sniffed it. "What is it?" "Fermented nebula fruit, non-lethal, probably." He gave her a look. "Probably?" She grinned. "Relax, human. It only affects higher cognitive functions. You won't overthink for an hour." "That's actually tempting." He took a cautious sip. It tasted like citrus, starlight, and trouble. They sat in silence for a while. Not the awkward kind, though, just quiet breathing and the soft hum of the ship. Harry broke it first. "Do you always run from things you want?" He glanced up. "That depends. Do those things usually break into my dreams?" She smiled faintly. "Touché." Then softer, but seriously. He hesitated. "I don't run, I just keep my distance. Because distance keeps things safe. Safe is boring. Safe is alive." She studied him for a moment. "And what's the point of being alive if you never feel anything dangerous?" The air felt heavier suddenly. Her eyes glowed faintly under the dim lights. He realized she wasn't teasing anymore. "Harry." "Why are you here?" "Really?" "Because you confuse me," she said simply. "And that's rare." He blinked. "I confuse you?" "You laugh in fear. You flirt in denial. You care without admitting it. Every signal says go away, while your heartbeat says stay. It's infuriating." He chuckled nervously. "Yeah, that's pretty much the human condition." "Then maybe," she said, stepping closer. "I like the condition." Before he could answer, the ship shuddered, gravity flickering, alarms flashing. Tessa's voice blared. "Micrometeor impact on hull sector 7. Pressure drop detected." "Great timing," he muttered, jumping up. Harry followed, already grabbing a repair suit. "I'll go with you." "Stay here." "Not a chance." Outside in the cold darkness, the emergency lights painted them both in red. The breach wasn't big, but enough to be lethal if ignored. They worked side by side, silent except for their calm chatter. Then, as they sealed the final crack, her gloved hand brushed his. Again, that spark. Even through layers of composite fabric. "Human," she said softly through the comm. "You keep saving things you don't admit you care about." He smiled inside his helmet. "Occupational hazard. Mine too." They looked at each other, reflections of stars dancing on glass visors. For a second, the universe felt very small. When they climbed back inside, breathing hard, covered in coolant dust and adrenaline, Tessa announced, "Crisis resolved. Heart rate spikes detected. Categorizing event as shared near-death bonding." "Delete that log," Ethan said immediately. "Denied," said Tessa. "It's cute." Harry burst out laughing again, leaning against the wall. "Your ship is definitely shipping us." He wiped his face with a towel. "Don't start." Too late. Later, she lingered at the door to his cabin. "Human, yeah? If I promise not to enter your dreams again." He looked up, suspicious. "There's a but, isn't there?" She smiled, slow and dangerous. "But you have to promise not to pretend you don't want me there." He hesitated, then laughed, shaking his head. "You're impossible." "Say it slower," she whispered. He threw a pillow at her. She caught it effortlessly, grin widening. "Good night, human. Good night, menace." She lingered one heartbeat longer, just long enough for the air between them to hum again, then turned and walked away. Tessa's voice filled the silence once she was gone. "Pilot Ethan, shall I play calming music?" He sighed. "Play something that helps me stop thinking about aliens." "Playing Hopeless Romantic Galactic Edition," he groaned. "You're fired." "Too late," the AI chirped. "I ship you both." And somewhere down the hall, Harry's voice floated back through the vents. Soft, teasing, barely audible. "Sweet dreams, human." He smiled despite himself. Too late for that, too. The next morning, the ship floated peacefully in orbit around a small blue moon. Peacefully, that is. Until Harry barged into the engine room carrying a data pad and an expression that could only mean trouble. "Human," she declared. "Your pulse pattern appears in my telemetry." Ethan looked up from under a maintenance panel, grease on his cheek. "What?" She shoved the data pad in his face. "Look, your heartbeat is literally echoing through my sensors." "We're synced," he blinked. "Like, romantically synced or medically?" "Biologically," she said. "Which on my planet is definitely romantically," he groaned. "Oh, great. First my dreams, now my bloodstream." Harry smiled slowly. It's cute. Like an infection. But with feelings. He rolled his eyes. You're describing love like a virus, isn't it? She said innocently. Tessa's voice chimed in helpfully. Confirming. Foreign biometric signatures now cross-linked between pilot Ethan and alien subject Harry. Possible cause, emotional proximity and idiotic decisions. Ethan frowned. Did you just call me an idiot? Statements supported by empirical evidence, said the AI. Harry snorted. See, even your ship agrees with me. He tossed the wrench aside. Fantastic. The ship, the alien, and my heartbeat are all in sync. What could possibly go wrong? Tessa answered immediately. Approximately 14 possibilities. Would you like a list? No, they said in unison. For the rest of the day, things got weird. Every time Ethan felt something, frustration, excitement, curiosity, Harry reacted like she'd been physically poked. He'd sigh, and she'd flinch. He'd laugh, and she'd blush, pretending not to. He'd think of her, and she'd look right at him, eyes narrowing. By lunchtime, she was practically pacing. You're thinking too loud again. I'm what? Your brain is shouting. It's very distracting. Sorry for existing, Miss Telepathic Drama. She crossed her arms. I heard that. Of course you did. He sighed, rubbing his temples. So what? Until this bond fades, you'll hear everything I think? Not everything, she said. Only the emotional frequencies. So basically you get all the embarrassing parts. Correct. He groaned. Kill me now. I could, she said sweetly, but you'd miss me. Later that night, they tried to test the connection. She sat cross-legged on his bunk again, eyes closed, palms up. Focus on something calm, she said. He tried. He really did. He thought of quiet oceans, empty skies, the smell of metal and ozone. Then she opened one eye. You're picturing me again. He winced. Yeah, sorry. You said calm and you're... Don't finish that sentence. A good influence, he offered weakly. Her eye twitched. Your calm involves imagining my hair and half my suit unzipped. Hey, that's not fair. You can't just... I literally can, Ethan. He buried his face in his hands. This is the worst science experiment ever. Then stop being interesting, she teased. A few minutes later, she sighed dramatically. You humans make things so complicated. Yeah? And your species just link hearts through space-time like it's casual dating. It's efficient. It's invasive. It's romantic. He looked up. Wait, did you just say romantic? Her ears flushed a faint shade of silver. I said systemic. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Harry. Ethan. A long, charged pause. Then she muttered, You're impossible. Say it slower, he said with a grin. She groaned and threw a cushion at him. That night, neither of them slept. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling again, and every time he thought about her, she heard it. Every thought, every flicker, every what if, and in her own cabin, Harry covered her face with a pillow, muttering, Stupid human. Stop thinking that. Stop thinking me. But he didn't stop, because she was doing the same thing. The next morning, she marched into the cockpit looking half-dazed. This is ridiculous, she said. We're two intelligent beings acting like hormonal cadets. Ethan laughed. You just described 90% of galactic romance. I'm serious, she said. Our bond is creating interference in the warp field. The ship can feel it. Wait, feel it? Tessa chimed in immediately. Confirmed. The warp coils are resonating at 2.7 hertz, same as your synchronized heartbeats. It's adorable, Ethan blinked. Did my love life just break faster than light travel? Yes, said Harry flatly. Tessa added cheerfully, I recommend you resolve your emotional tension before re-entering hyperspace. Harry crossed her arms. Resolve? Ethan smirked. She means, I know what she means, Harry interrupted. And no, human, we are not doing what you're thinking. He tried to look innocent. Failed spectacularly. Hours later, they tried everything. Meditation, neural dampeners, even separate cabins. Nothing worked. The warp field kept pulsing in time with their heartbeats. Finally, Harry slammed her palm on the console. Fine, I admit it. Ethan blinked. Admit what? That you're under my skin. Literally and metaphorically. Happy now? He grinned. Little bit. Her eyes narrowed. Don't push it. I'm not pushing, Ethan. Okay, she sighed, shoulders dropping. If we don't balance this connection, the ship will implode. He raised an eyebrow. So what's the fix? She hesitated. A neural feedback reset. In English? Her cheeks glowed faintly. We have to match our biofrequencies manually. Manually, yes, with physical contact. She exhaled through her nose. Unfortunately, he grinned. Tragic. Don't enjoy this too much, no promises. They stood close, eyes locked, the hum of the ship vibrating beneath their feet. Ready? She asked quietly, always. Their palms touched. The spark was instant, warm, wild, cosmic. The hum grew into a pulse. The ship trembled, lights flickering blue. Her freckles glowed brighter. His pulse synced with hers perfectly. Then, silence. The engine steadied. The ship stopped shaking. It worked. She looked at him, still catching her breath. Well, that was science, he said. Right. Science. Totally professional. Completely. They stared at each other for one very long, very unprofessional moment. Then Tessa's voice purred through the speakers. Synchronization complete. Warp field stabilized. Emotional denial. Unresolved, Ethan groaned. Tessa, mute yourself! Harry laughed, that soft, bright sound that made the metal walls feel like home. She turned toward the door, pausing just long enough to say, Don't think too loudly tonight. He smiled. No promises. But later, as they jumped into hyperspace, heartbeats steady, frequencies aligned, both of them felt it. That tiny pulse still echoing between them. A rhythm no ship could silence, and for once neither of them wanted to. There's something poetic about hyperspace. Endless light, endless silence, and two idiots sitting too close in the cockpit pretending not to notice the way their knees kept touching. Harry stared out at the streaking stars, chin resting on her hand. You humans sleep too much, Ethan leaned back, smirking. We call it rest. You call everything rest, she said. You rest after eating, you rest after walking, you rest after thinking. 2 activities and you need recovery time, he chuckled. That's biology, not laziness. She side-eyed him. You were tired after linking frequencies, once. That was a lot of, science. Her lips curved. So your famous human stamina fails after 2 times? He coughed. Depends on the activity. Her expression turned mischievous. Oh, elaborate. He looked away quickly. Nope, not walking into that trap. She grinned. Then I'll document my findings personally. Please don't write that in your report. Too late. They'd been orbiting close for days now, figuratively and literally. Every hour together blurred the line between crew and something else. And every time he thought about putting distance between them, the bond pulsed stronger. Tessa noticed first. Of course she did. Pilot Ethan, the AI said one evening, would you like to schedule another synchronization session? He froze mid-sip of coffee. Why? Residual connection instability detected. Also, you've both been staring at each other for approximately 12 minutes. Harry didn't look away. We're communicating non-verbally. Tessa's tone was smug. Oh, I'm sure you are. Mute, Ethan said quickly. Denied, replied Tessa. Harry laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink. Your ship might be my favorite thing in the galaxy, yeah? Take her then. I already did, said Tessa. Ethan groaned. Perfect. Even the AI's flirting with you now. Later that night, the cabin lights dimmed again. He was lying on his bunk, staring at the faint blue glow of hyperspace outside his viewport, when a knock echoed at his door. He didn't have to ask who it was. Doors open, he said softly. Harry stepped in, silhouetted against the stars. You're not sleeping. Neither are you, she shrugged. Can't. You keep broadcasting. He smiled faintly. Still reading me? Always, she said, sitting at the edge of the bed. It's loudest when you're trying not to think about something. Or someone, he corrected. She tilted her head. So which am I? He hesitated. Then, both. Silence stretched between them. The hum of the ship filled the gaps their words couldn't. You know, she said softly, I wasn't supposed to form a bond. My species studies connections but never keeps them. He looked at her. So I'm a bad experiment. Her lips curved into a sad smile. You're a dangerous one. He reached out, just brushed her hand. Then maybe you shouldn't stay. Maybe, she whispered. But I will. Tessa's voice crackled again, because of course she couldn't let the moment live. Warning, emotional proximity exceeding recommended levels. Recommend immediate recalibration or passionate confession. Mute, Ethan said, denied again. The AI replied. This is good television, Harry giggled, low and melodic. Your AI has a sense of drama. She gets it from you. Impossible. I'm subtle. Sure you are. She turned toward him fully, glowing freckles tracing her jaw like constellations. Human, she murmured. Your heart rate? Yeah? It's louder than hyperspace. Yours too. Impossible. He smiled. Say it slower, her eyes narrowed. Then, without warning, she leaned in, close enough that he could see the shimmer of light in her pupils. I hate how you do that, she whispered. Do what? Make everything sound like a dare. The next thing he knew, they were kissing. Not a dramatic movie-style kiss. More like two people who'd been teasing gravity for too long and finally let it win. It was warm, clumsy, and entirely worth the wait. For one perfect heartbeat, the ship's hum matched theirs. Then Tessa sighed over the intercom. Emotional tension resolved. Warp stability optimal. Finally. Harry pulled back, laughing into his chest. You realize your AI just rated that? He grinned. Yeah, I'm giving her a firmware update tomorrow. Leave her. She ships us. They sat together in silence after that, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. Harry, he said after a while. What happens now? She thought about it. Now? We test long-term compatibility. That sounds terrifying. It's very scientific, he smirked. Everything with you is scientific. Of course. Even attraction. I catalog every variable. Really? She nodded, dead serious. Temperature spikes, vocal tremors, eye dilation, hand fidgeting. He laughed. You sound like a romance researcher. I am one, she said with mock pride. You're just my first test subject who survived. He blinked. Survived? Mostly, she teased. The next morning, the entire ship felt lighter, literally. The warp engines hummed smoother, lights brighter. Tessa humming love songs through the vents. Harry floated into the cockpit wearing that same smug expression. I analyzed last night's data, she announced. Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. What data? Heart synchronization, neural response, oxygen consumption. Harry! She grinned. Relax, I only shared it with Tessa. Tessa. Already uploaded to the Galactic Emotional Research Network, said the AI cheerfully. He groaned. You two are going to get me court-martialed. Or famous, Harry said. Maybe they'll call it the Ethan resonance effect. Sounds like a disease. Feels like one too, she teased. A few hours later, they sat side by side again as the stars blurred past. Harry's voice was soft now, thoughtful. Humans are strange. You fall apart just to feel whole again. Yeah, that's how we grow. And you keep trying even when it hurts. That's how we love. She glanced at him, smiling faintly. Then maybe I'm learning. He looked back. Maybe you're teaching. Tessa hummed. Maybe you're both disgusting. They both burst out laughing. As the day faded into a quiet blue evening, she leaned against him once more. Human, she murmured almost sleepily. If I say I'm tired. Will you call me lazy? He smiled. No, I'll call you human. Her lips curved. Just 2 times at night, and I'm the tired one now. See? You're adapting. Don't gloat. Too late. When the lights dimmed, the ship drifted quietly through hyperspace. 3 hearts in perfect sync. 1 human, 1 alien, and 1 overly talkative AI. And somewhere between the stars, the galaxy's strangest love story continued, full of bickering, bad timing, and better chemistry than any science could explain. Because some experiments aren't meant to be studied. They're meant to be felt. Mission status, stable. Crew status. Deeply in denial, occasionally kissing.
Hypothesis confirmed. Love is the most efficient form of chaos known to science.